child of God. The term of child, to be a child of God, there's nothing for you to do. There's nothing for you to even understand, not with your own thinking, but as the Holy Spirit in the quietness, in the stillness of your mind, the Holy Spirit will show you the truth of the child. The child is symbolic in the sense that we all remain a child. We all remain in that innocent unknowing that a child sits with. And within the child, there is a trust that reveals itself. It's something that has to be nurtured, invited, and especially to be comforted by faith and trust. The child, it is the child in you that can give yourself to the power of God. And yet, there is also within the spiritual maturity of your journey, there is also that strength within the spiritual maturity that is also deeply within you. The release and surrender of the identity does not make you less by any means. Everything that you release, everything that you surrender that is temporary is just blocking the awareness of the divine truth within, the perfection, the innocence, and the spiritual maturity. It's all essence of the divine, and it is the essence of you, child of God. Every moment is new, every moment is perfect. Elevate your mind to God, elevate your thinking, and see the brilliance of creation, the brilliance of the firmament is a beautiful light that shines through the heart and invigorates the mind of reality. We are here to sing the praise of the divine and to praise all divine beings who have come to serve in all different forms and vibrations. They fill the earth, they fill the sky, they fill all of the universe. with their exquisite vibration of true love that is only there to serve every beloved. Elevate your thinking to love, to the vibration of love, and see the brilliance of creation. Elevei o pensamento a Deus lá nas alturas para reconhecer o brilho da formosura, o brilho da formosura. É uma luz de alento que limpa meu coração e vigora meu pensamento. Aqui eu vou contando que a minha lida é essa, viva Rei Juramidão e a rainha da floresta. Every prayer basically has the same calling, the same yearning within every prayer. Elevate my mind to God in the highest so that I can remember the glory of love. Let that prayer just sing with you. Beautiful empty pages. What kind of work can I do in this world? Who would be kind enough to hire an old holy bum? One with a great reputation for loving the charms of the lawless and the wild artists and the lewd. Maybe I could become a poet. Maybe the beloved will make my love so pure that he will come to sit upon all my beautiful empty pages. And when you come to look at them, he might kick you with his beautiful divine foot. The blessings are always in different ways and different shapes and sizes. My beautiful empty pages. Can you see the beauty in the empty pages? This subtle teaching is saying, you look at beautiful empty pages and you assume that they are not perfect in their emptiness, and you want them to be different. That's where all the pain is, wanting it to be different. The beautiful empty pages are as beautiful as pages that are filled with words. Every option is perfect. As soon as the mind comes in and says, there should be words written on those pages, the lies of the ego have taken over. It doesn't seem that way. There's a relationship with the ego that is not really known in its complete awareness. The ego has to make things seem sensible. The ego has to make things seem reasonable. And the ego has to make every beloved think that their own mind makes sense. In the spiritual journey, at some point, you begin to see the insanity of the thinking. But until that is the calling, the ego's intention is for everyone to think that their thoughts are reasonable, that they make sense. If you add 2 and 2 and it makes 4, you're pretty sure it makes sense. Two of what? If nothing is separate, what is the two? These are the questions that it's not about playing mind games, but it is about questioning the authenticity of thought. Who says that my thoughts are reasonable? Well, they can't be reasonable and insane at the same time, even though they can look reasonable because the ego has made them look reasonable. Where is the insanity? The ego's insanity shape changes and goes into all different types of forms so that it can look reasonable. And yet the empty, beautiful pages, maybe the beloved will just come to sit on them, and when you look at them, you'll see and be kicked by his foot. These are, in these words, it's really saying nothing is as you think it is. If you look at empty pages and think that there's something missing, your mind is trained to see it the way the mind sees it and thinks it knows. And the Holy Spirit, in your wanting to remember, keeps opening doors and windows to see that the beautiful pages are perfect, and to give yourself to those beautiful empty pages and discover the mysteries and the secrets within those empty pages. Because the idea that there are empty pages or full pages is a made-up idea, because we're not seeing everything that is actually in the emptiness. Everybody in the world has made their own identification of emptiness or fullness, and it's giving all of that into the hands of God. What is emptiness? What is fullness? What is it for? State of not knowing leaves everything open so that truth can be delivered, so you can see through truth rather than what the eyes are showing or what perception says is real. And it is completely a schoolroom because you're coming empty. You're coming without knowing, or at least that's the intention. Imagine you come into the schoolroom And there's this particular classroom that you go into that you leave outside the door, you leave your ego identities and your thoughts and your knowing, and you come empty into that schoolroom. And you just absorb. You listen, you absorb, you join in that willingness to see it differently, willingness to see it through peace, through harmony, through compassion, whatever it is, you're willing. And you're empty, but you're available. And that is the state in the everyday. Willing, available, but empty. Willing to step onto the empty page and learn. I actually remember very clearly that when I was walking in this journey, I was, not all the time, but a lot of time, I would be just giddy, just amazed that there could be so much to learn that was so incredibly beyond this world, beyond this little life, and that it was the knowledge that all humanity was here to learn, and it was available. I didn't have to earn it. I didn't have to prove my abilities to accept it. I just had to say yes again and again and again and again, but just to say yes. Let yourself be awestruck when you read a line, doesn't matter where it's from, but you read a line of truth and it hits you. You let it hit you, that you can be awestruck by the brilliance of any teaching. And in that state of being awestruck, it's the also the acceptance that you are so loved, that this is given to you, to this is your get out of jail free card, and it's been carried over lifetime after lifetime after lifetime for you to receive it when you're ready. And when we receive it when we're ready, we're blessed, of course. But there's something about the being awestruck with the grandeur of the gift, the grandeur that sacred truths are given. I remember the first time I heard a particular chant that was recorded in a cave, and I just could feel the beloveds that were singing. I could feel them there, and I just was so again struck that they had traveled so far to go and make this recording, and it was this magnificent gift. that combined the mystic qualities of the chant that they were singing, the space that they were in, the sacredness of it, and it transmitted through the chant. And that they would do this, go all this way to make this, to bless everyone who would listen to it. And and in that blessing was the realization that they didn't know who was going to be so blessed. And yet that was their gift. That was their offering. And that is what is one element of what combines and what joins different beloveds. They're not different when they're all listening to that one chant. It brings you into the oneness in that moment. And then you remember that oneness. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey. It doesn't matter if you're a quick learner. It doesn't matter if you're a slow learner. It doesn't matter anything about anything other than in that moment, there's this deep, deep connection that is remembered. Or at least the opportunity is there to remember this deep connection. It's not about the story. It's not about how the person flew there. It's not about how many musicians were there. It's going into the depth of the gift and joining in that moment. It's no different than if someone was singing and they invited you in. Said, yes, come in, you're part of this. And you come in and you receive and you open. And those relationships are everywhere in that same sense. If you see a beloved standing on a street corner singing or speaking of his love for God or whatever it happens to be with that beloved in that moment. It's the gift. Now your ego mind may say, well, he might be nuts. Well, it's either the ego is nuts or God is nuts. But more than likely, it's not God. It's just the ego that's nuts. And that beloved is not an ego, nor is anybody. And it's wanting to keep wanting to see and to meet and to be with the divine that is in every beloved. Nothing else is true. Nothing else is true. I wrote a question. I wrote a couple of questions. Do you desire a life where you are powerful instead of helpless? Now, that would be pretty easy to say, of course. I want to be in the power of love. But that question brings the attention to that you are the chooser. You have the power of God within you. You are the power of God. You can't be powerless. You can't be helpless. You are the power of God. But to choose that over and over and over again means that you're available to choose. that you're recognizing, oh, this feels powerless, helpless, weak, and God is promising strength. So let me change my mind and accept the strength moment to moment, even though we don't always know what that strength is, because it has nothing to do with the strength of the little identity. This is the true strength of love that has no limitation and does not use force in any way because there's nothing to force. I will step back and let God lead. Breaks the mold and breaks the trance of that sense of weakness. When you follow love, you follow strength. When you follow love, you're following the strength that's within you as well. And you're learning to follow and trust in that strength. And that strength becomes the truth of you. Do I desire a world which I have no enemies and I cannot sin? That is also our true universe. The true universe, there are no enemies, and you cannot sin, nor can anybody sin. Mistakes? Yeah. Oops? Yeah. But there's never a connection between mistakes and sin. Sin is condemnation. Sin says you are forever marked, you are forever condemned. That is how sin is held in the world. It has no reality. Even even the beloveds who walked with Jesus, even in their some of their confusion, the word sin originally meant that you missed the mark. You missed the mark. You didn't kill the mark, you missed the mark. That's an error. It's like shooting an arrow and missing the bullseye, and somebody saying, well, now you're condemned forever. Of course not. It's a mistake. There is no sin as the world holds it. But if you condemn, then you believe in it. And the main element of condemnation is memory. The release of the memories of the belief of limitation and difficulties, the belief of separation, and the remembering of the reasons for condemnation are being called to be given to God, surrendered, and let go, and forgiven within. I had a very powerful teaching of non-forgiveness, of condemnation that I carried from the time I was little, which was a story that when the beloved who came as my mother, when they were escaping the Nazis in Europe, they tried to escape to Switzerland and they couldn't make it. They had to turn around. And my The beloved who came as my aunt, her sister, was so hungry that she snuck all the bread and ate all the bread, leaving no bread. And the beloved who came as my mother held this condemnation for her whole life. Every time there was a mention of her sister, she would tell the same story, that her sister took all the bread and they had none. And the pain was in her. The pain of that condemnation this beloved carried because it caused a belief that the separation was real and that this beloved who had come as her sister was somehow condemned as if she had done something. That is the release of all condemnation. It means absolutely nothing. But it is a leap of faith to let go of that condemnation. The story stays the same, the details stay the same, but none of it is the reality of the truth of who you are. None of it. And so it is the same for everyone. There is no one condemned. There is no one that is the cause of anything. Only love truly exists, and the rest has to be given to the bonfire of love so that it can be burned up and you can be free. No more condemnation, only love. Beautiful empty pages singing the song of love. It's what you are. Everyone is participating in a single magnificent game of learning the truth of love. One heart for all eternity.